Hey everyone, it's Josh with JE Vintage Minis in Orlando, Florida. We got a 1985 ATC70. Owner had torn into the right side clutch area because he was having shifting issues. He didn't see anything but put everything back together, but now he doesn't even have any shifting actuation. So I'm going to take it apart and see what's going on with it. I'm not going to run it because I don't want to run the engine unless everything's assembled correctly. While I'm in there, I'm going to put new clutch fibers. So let's dig into it and see what the issue is. So we got the oil draining out. Let's get as much of that as possible. So these are the tools you're going to need to get into this clutch right side cover. So either a hand and hammer impactor. I use a drill impactor. You're going to need a JIS bit number 2 at the clutch basket to get the cover off. Some pliers, needle nose at the clutch area to get the special lock nut out of there. It's recessed, so you can use that to get in there and pull it out. I'm going to adjust the clutch when I'm done, so I need a 14mm for the nut and a flathead for that stud at the clutch adjustment. Get yourself a new side cover gasket, right side cover gasket, and then a 3-hole clutch basket cover gasket. Might as well get a new crush or a new washer for your drain plug. This one didn't have one, so put a new washer on it. You're going to need your clutch tool, which is a 24mm tool. 24mm, 20mm. It's good for all these little Honda bikes. 17mm and a socket for your drain plug, for your oil drain plug. 10mm deep socket, we'll use that at all the case screws here. Or I'm sorry, an 8mm. So we'll use that at all the hex head screws. Gaskets, you need to scrape off the old gaskets so you get a flat edge razor blade. I'm going to probably use a little brake cleaner here and there. You need your new, I'm doing a clutch job, so I'm using EBC brake, 3-disc setup. That is a CK1148 is the part number. A bag I'm going to fill with oil, soak my clutch discs in it. And what else do I have here? Oh yeah, and then I use, your engine oil. I use Shell Rotella. It's JZO MA rated. And that's about all you need here. So that should get you guys set up pretty good to tear down that cover and be ready to put it back together all in the same afternoon. So if you've seen any of my other videos, when I do my clutches, I turn these bikes on their side. I just use a bean bag. I'm going to lay this ATC on its side so the clutch side of the engine's facing up, right? Makes it easier for me to work. I'm not going to spill any oil. When I'm putting all the parts and pieces back in, they all stay, they don't fall off. So what I do is I make sure I always take off the shifter shaft or foot pedal, because I don't want it when it's on its side tweaking the shaft itself. So I'm going to take this off and then I'll turn it on its side, and that way I'll be able to work on it without knowing, I'll be able to work on it without it worrying about the shaft being turned. So the first step is I'm going to use my 8mm socket and take off all those case screws, and then we'll lift off the cover. Alright, so let's pull this cover and see what happened here. Alright, so right off the bat, I can see that this is installed incorrectly here. This is upside down, and as a result, we have a failure of this bearing plate here. So it's all tweaked up, all bent out of shape. The spring should have been down that way with the bearing that way, so we're going to replace this. He ran this engine with it like this, and that's as a result that got bent out of shape. So we're going to just get this replaced. I'm going to tear the clutch off, put new discs in it while we're in here, and I'm going to pull the primary gear and just look at the shifter start area to make sure all that is still in good order. So let's start pulling this apart further. So just use a baggie and put all your parts that are on the outside of this clutch basket. If something happens like this for you, also look at this, make sure this isn't tweaked. If it is, just straighten it back out in a vise. That can sometimes get bent up. He's been in here already, so I see his screws are a little stripped. So hopefully it's an easy job to just pull these out. These are the ones that are kind of a pain, and this is a number 2 JIS bit with an impactor to pull these out. Just be very careful with those screws if they haven't been removed ever. They're very, very hard to get out. You need an impactor for it. I'm going to just replace this gasket, and we got our special lock nut in here, so I'm going to use a flathead. Let's see, zoom in on that. So just use our flathead screwdriver and get one of these retaining tabs backed out so you can get in there with your clutch tool. This is this is the 24mm side of this clutch socket, special nut socket. Where your needle nose will come into play here to get this specialty locking washer out. Now you should be able to just lift your clutch up and out like so, and we have access to the primary gear, which I'm going to take off, and I'm just going to look back in this area to make sure that we didn't have any issues of bending anything or breaking anything. Since I'm going further, I'm going to add another tool to your kit here. Snap ring pliers. You need snap rings to get in here. Pull our primary gear up. So nothing looks tweaked or bent in this area. Also, just for informational purposes, if you're curious of what is neutral on the shift star on the relation to the drum setup, you got the very bottom part of the shift star, that I'll call it the bottom of it. If your retaining arm here is on the right side of it, of this arm, or of this part of the shift star, that's neutral right here on this side. So neutral, first, second, third, fourth on the 1985 ATC70. So I'm going to let my clutch discs, I'm going to do that clutch friction swap out, disc swap out on the clutch basket. I'm just going to put some saran wrap, just cover your engine for a little while if you're in the garage or wherever, so no dust or debris can fall on there. So let's put our focus on the clutch basket. We'll get the new clutch discs in. Just let your clutches soak overnight if you can, or just give them a few hours in the oil. I have a bag full of the oil that will be running in the engine. So just let those soak for a little while so the fibers can absorb the oil. And then what we're going to do here on this before I open it up, so I just removed all the old gasket that was adhered to the this part of the clutch basket. And then right here on these little grooves, this acts as a centrifugal clutch oil cleaner. It catches all this gunk and debris in here, so you're gonna most likely will have some buildup of all sorts of gunk in there. So just use a flathead or something and scrape out all this buildup the best you can. It's supposed to get dirty, so it's doing its job. If you open it, it's got a bunch of crap in it. The other place we'll check too is the little screen that's right there on the engine case. I'll show you that later. Those are two areas that are used to clean the oil. So we'll get this all cleaned up, get all that out, and then I'll take apart the back side of the clutch.